You must see some really sad things.
Yeah.
How do you see the positive in those situations?
I think, I'll give an example about Ukraine, and I hope it's not too distressing. But so in Ukraine, particularly in the occupied areas, when people will be reading about it in the news, but the war crimes that are being committed on people, it's just unbearable and unthinkable that human beings are capable of that and that human beings are going through it. We fund amazing organizations who are evacuating people and getting people out to safety. And then when you hear about these stories, it is, it's haunting. And but then those same organizations, they're what's so incredible. And there was a photographer and cinematographer who's just been in Ukraine getting content of our partner's work recently, and he was telling me a story about a woman who, she is a counselor, and she has ended up now, she's stayed in Ukraine, she is counseling people who have been the victims of gender-based violence, but she's also adopted, I can't remember if it's 4 or 6 children who've lost their parents. And individuals like that, you just can't, that is the most, what an amazing human being, just totally dedicating herself like that. And so it is a privilege for us to be raising funds and supporting individuals and organizations doing that work. So we always say it's like you see the worst of humanity, but you also see the best of humanity.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. And there was an example of earlier on in Choose Love's history where you were giving phones to children who'd lost their families. What was the story? What was the example of that?
So a big part of our work is supporting unaccompanied children. And when I first arrived in northern France in 2015, on that very first day, we met children who were alone and unaccompanied. I just didn't even know that was possible. Kids as young as 8, 9 years old doing these journeys on their own, just unthinkable. And one of the kind of crazy things about the unaccompanied children is that because there's no system set up to be able to support them all, and it's really hard to safeguard the children, there ends up being no response because no one wants to take that responsibility and not be able to do it perfectly. Mm-hmm. And that seems so unbelievably crazy and doesn't really make sense to me. So we began supporting through partner organizations these young people and children in whatever way we could. And that might be funding social workers, that might be trying to advocate for protection systems in countries to help them, but it might also be just funding distribution of clothes, mobile phones, and making sure they have credit, because that can be the difference between life and death. And there was one particular boy who I think he was 8 years old at the time, he was with his older brother. But one of the volunteers that we were supporting had made sure that he had a phone and credit with our funding, and they had ended up being in a lorry. I can't remember if it was a refrigerated lorry or not, but anyway, it was a lorry and they had got stuck. And he used that phone to call the volunteer and say, I'm with all of these people in a lorry that had been going from France to the UK because people have, the smugglers put them in the back of lorries. Mm-hmm. And we're stuck and we can't breathe and the air is running out. And she was then able to contact the police. They were able to locate the phone and they found the lorry, and I think it's 17 people were rescued. And so just show, and that phone was only able to be bought and that credit was only able to be bought because someone somewhere donated us £5, £10, £20. And that just shows the impact of what's possible.
That is incredible, isn't it?
It really is.
I suppose if you're ever having a bad day, I imagine you've got a lot of those examples of those similar stories of, saving lives. But if you're ever having a bad day, you've got that one very strong example there, haven't you, to remind you why you're doing what you're doing.
100%. Yeah, totally. Actually, I was with another partner last week, and they're an organization that run schools, but they had run schools in like the underground buildings in Aleppo in Syria when it was being really bombed. And this woman, she's based in America, but she had been at this event, and this young guy came up to her who is now at Harvard and said, I was going to school in one of these underground schools in these underground shelters in Syria, and I didn't really know why it was there or who paid for it, but he recognized the logo because that was in the school, and he now saw it at this event, and he was like, I'm now at Harvard. And and that's thanks to the underground school that you created.
Wow.
So it's just like, that's amazing. And again, we're privileged to support that organization. They're called Quran Foundation in some small way.
So Choose Love help other organizations then? You're not just doing stuff on the ground yourself now.
Now we solely do that. So we have 200 partner organizations in 26 countries.
Wow.
That we're funding at the moment.
That's huge. You must be rather busy.
It's pretty busy, and right now is a very busy time in winter. That's our busiest time, the most need, and when people are also feeling the most generous.
What would you say is the best part of your job?
I would say the best part of my job is, I actually don't get to do this as much now that we have programs team and the organization has grown, but when you're able to tell an organization, we've got we can give you the funding to be able to set up the amazing program that you're doing, or when we read the reports of our partners and we see the amazing work that's possible, I think that is again the reason to get up in the morning. So yeah, I feel very lucky to get to do this every day.
And so my thinking really with having you on around this time is for this is the second episode in the second series. It's the holiday period, and people, I think, whilst they think of themselves and their loved ones, I think people do think beyond that as well at this time of year.
I think so.
It's a cold season.
Yeah.
And it's a charitable one as well, I think. So I thought it made sense to invite you on. I'm so glad you've come on and shared all this.
Oh, thank you so much.
You do, and because it's a cause that I personally really do connect with, as so many people do. It just doesn't make sense to me, and what you're doing is incredible work. How can people help? Because you've got the Choose Love shop, right? I actually saw on your socials, Tottenham Court Road, you'd had a massive overtaking of that recently.
We did.
But yeah, the Choose Love shop, is that the best way people can help you?
That is an amazing way for people to help, especially right now. So the concept of the shop, for anyone who doesn't know, is that it's both a physical store and an online store where people can come and they can buy things like a hot meal, a child's coat, a tent, a sleeping bag, but you don't leave with those items or get sent those items. And instead, we use those funds to buy those items or support the services that the items represent in all the countries around the world that we work in. And we wanted it to feel like it's transparent. You know exactly where your money's going. It's empowering because you can go and actually really do something to help. It's also fun, and we wanted to make it not feel like a charity experience. It feels like a cool shopping experience. You can also buy Choose Love merch as well if you do want something for yourself. And it really, as soon as the money comes in, it goes back out. And buying a hot meal for someone really, really can make the difference in the cold winter months. So right now, if anyone is able to, that it helps more than you know. And you can also do it on behalf of loved ones. So we have cards in store that you can give people on Christmas Day or whatever holiday you're celebrating, or you can send e-cards as well. So if people are able to, we know there's a cost of living crisis, but if people are able to, even the smallest gift, it really does help and can save a life.
It's such a great experience you've created to go in and actually pick off pick up off the shelf what you'd like to help someone with. I think I've never seen or heard that before.
No, it is an amazing thing, and it's there are a couple of items that really connect with people, and one of them is we have a pair of child's boots that are like fluffy pink boots, and often when people come in, they like pick those boots up, they sometimes like burst into tears because they just connected to the fact that like, oh, there is a kid somewhere who doesn't even have shoes on.
Yeah.
And it just makes it very real. And I think when we see all these big numbers on the news, it can feel a bit abstract, and actually people need to be reminded that it's individual people just like them.
I think we should invite all of government down to go and take a trip in your shop.
I mean, believe me, I try.
Maybe some changes will happen.
I do think that. I think that if the right people, let's still try and believe, that might be naive still, but yeah, I think if they had that experience, they might change their minds.
Yeah. Well, if people do want to go to the shop or they want to visit online, what do they need to know?
So we are just off Carnaby Street on Fubert's Place for those people who might be doing their Christmas shopping in central London. And if not, we are www.choose.love.
Also, you might be across the pond in America.
Yes.
Right?
That's true, actually. I should have thought of that. We also have a store in New York as well, in South Seaport on Front Street, which is amazing. And we're really starting to see our supporter base grow in America. So, I was there a couple of weeks ago opening the store there. We just feel really lucky that the Choose Love movement is continuing to grow. So, and you're part of that movement now.
Well, congratulations. And just to end, this is a question I ask every guest who comes on People Do Fun Jobs. Josie, for you, what is the meaning of life?
Oh, it's such a big question.
Bloody big question. I don't know why I chose it.
I think the meaning of life is working out what your purpose is and living that purpose. And I think it's a human connection, and the meaning of life is connecting with other humans and being part of the human race.
I love that. And that's exactly what you're doing with Choose Love.
I hope so anyway, yeah. Trying to.
Thanks so much, Josie.
No, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on.